Thanks, Concorla. Minister, I had the good fortune or misfortune to attend your housing forum in the Custom House a number of weeks ago in place of Deputy Maureen O'Sullivan. And one of the things that struck me quite quickly having attended that was that the nub of this problem lies at the heart of the Department of the Environment, where the ideology seems to be wedded to the failed ideas that led us to this crisis in the first place, because the first speaker from your department who got up repeated the lie, which you've again done earlier in your speech, that the department was responsible for delivering 13,000 extra social housing units last year. It is simply not the case. Many of these, as Deputy Barrett has said, were just reclassified. They were houses that were already there, and the overwhelming bulk of them were based on the private market, with the exact lack of security of tenure which Deputy Catherine Connolly referred to earlier. And unless we're truthful about the problem, we won't be able to grapple with the solution. Now, that official went on to say that the solution to the crisis wasn't to build social housing, and went on about stimulating the private sector. Well, the solution actually is to build social housing, not exclusively by any means, but unless we reverse the chronic... Minister, please now. No, actually, Conor Skehan from the Housing Agent's contribution was excellent. I was talking about the first representative from the Department of Environment, most definitely. But the solution is, unless we reverse the chronic lack of provision in social housing by direct bills, we will not deliver to meet the needs of the people, because housing construction ceased, not under yourselves, but under the previous government, and we absolutely need to reverse that. And as we have tabled motions to this House, which obviously we can't discuss yet, we need to go to the EU, get the fiscal rules released and allow us access to emergency funds, deal with a crisis that could deal with social housing. Again, Deputy Wallace will deal later on with the very constructive proposals by Justice Honohan in terms of the creative use of CPOs with the investment fund and NAMA properties. But I want to just briefly talk about modular housing, because what's going on in local authorities in Dublin at the moment is the emotional blackmail of the most hard-pressed working-class communities to get them to believe that they are responsible for the housing and homeless crisis in this state. As we speak, there is a vote currently in Fingal County Council on the issue of the location of 40 modular houses in Balbriggan. Now, these aren't modular housing, they're conventional housing, as we know. There's nothing wrong with those houses per se, although I do know that the company that are developing the units in Ballymun are the ones who built the rapid builds in North County Dublin, in the school that went on fire. So that would cause me some concern. But my main concern is the fact that we learned yesterday that these units are coming in at a price of $243,000. Excluding site purchase cost, planning application cost, development levies or developer's profit. Now, Deputy Wallace has assured me that you would build a top-notch house under similar conditions for $150,000, almost $100,000 less than that. My colleague on Fingal County Council, Councillor Barry Martin, did a survey of properties available on the market in Balbriggan today. There are 40 properties which could be purchased for the tune of 5.3 million. 40 properties constructed, dispersed across the whole community of Balbriggan for a tune way less than the 9 million that Fingal County Council are proposing to spend on this development. And let's see where they're putting it. They're putting it in Pinewood, a hard-pressed working class estate that has grappled and worked hard for years to overcome problems of antisocial behaviour, is now a mature and settled estate. Many of the people in it have children on the housing waiting list. They fully realise the scale of the housing problem, but they wonder why these developments are being put in the most marginalised working class communities, why agreements reached with their communities are being trampled on with these proposals. They make no economic sense. You're proposing a transient community that can't integrate with the existing communities at a massively more expensive rate, and it's just not on. And if we're going to continue this knee-jerk reaction to what is a national emergency, then we're only sowing huge problems for the future, and it really isn't on for any of the people involved with this crisis. So I'm glad that we've agreed the initiation of the committee today. I hope it comes out with concrete proposals, because I do think that the speech of the day so far rests with Deputy Catherine Connolly, who summed up the situation very articulately today in terms of the fact that we don't have a housing strategy, and it is the most utmost priority of all of us in here.